What's up, everybody? I'm Jesse Cofield. Welcome to The Sweat. I'm back. It's like my second day. I'm happy to be here. Let's talk about what's on the menu for the show today. So once again, Gojo invading The Sweat. We love to see it. They are going to come on. Mike Golick Jr., Brandon Newman. We're going to talk everything sports. Plus, they're going to give out their Gojo Rose. That's going to be fun and exciting. Now, the FedEx Cup playoffs are reaching their finale. We're going to have DFS plays for the Tour Championship. We're going to preview the NFC South. And KD is back in Brooklyn. Who saw that one coming? So which bets could make sense for this upcoming season? We're going to talk about that. But first, let's lead off with some baseball. How about that? We love it. Say hello to DraftKings contributors Nick Fryer and Roto Warriors Paul Bruno. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Wow, I love your background.
Thank you.
Paul,
I know it's got to be me and not talking about Paul.
Yeah, Nick, I'm talking about you. Because
well,
your background's
Jesse,
me, so.
It's been a long summer. It's been pretty much the summer of Emerson Latzia at DraftKings.
Yeah.
And say you've been missed.
I mean, what a time to be alive. I love that I get to be your background. Amazing. All right, guys, let's jump into MLB Splurge or Save. So you're going to pay up at these positions on tonight's slate, or, are you going to save some money? Let's find out. Splurge or save at pitcher. Paul, what is your strategy here?
I'll give you one on each side of the ledger. I highlight two pitchers today at opposite ends of the board. The one that stands out at the top, of course, for me is Tampa's Shane McClanahan, who's had a fantastic year, and he's held opponents to 2 earned runs or less in 9 of his last 11 starts. He's going to be in the Cy Young discussion at the end of the year and on full merit based on what he's doing lately. When you add that to the fact that the Rays are getting healthier and more productive offensively, winning 5 of their last 6 and facing a puny Angels attack that I've panned all week, this week and last, I guess, on this show. And their starting pitcher, Mike Myers, I don't know if he's back in the movie business, but he probably should be. He's sporting a 5.22 ERA. I see a very high win probability for Tampa tonight in that one. On the other end of the spectrum, I go to Jose Berrios of my favorite couple, Blue Jays. $7,200 the price tag for a guy who has the same advantages going for him as McClanahan. He has 7 quality starts in his last 9 outings. Been receiving very good run support from the Blue Jays' deep lineup, and Jays have feasted on the Red Sox. I guess you guys that are local to the Boston club know that very well, but I'll amplify it by saying the Jays have run roughshod over Boston, 11 wins and 14 tries this year, many by lopsided scores, and there's a good chance we'll see another blowout, as I expect the Toronto club to get off to a great start against Brian Bello, who has an 8.47 ERA over 17 innings work. That's not very good. The Boston bullpen has been in trouble spot too, so they can't be counted on to stop the bleeding once it stops.
All right, Nick, if you're looking at pitchers, 2 guys over 10K, McClanahan and Valdez, are you going to splurge on one of them?
Yeah, I know McClanahan's a guy that jumps out, but I still would rather try and save a little bit here, and Paul and I are on the same page here when it comes to that. Jose Berrios, at 7.2K tonight. The big thing for me that jumps out first is that his good starts throughout the course of the season have come in bunches. And then you look at the matchup he had tonight. Paul talked about it, how the Blue Jays own the Red Sox. Well, the Red Sox also have the 5th highest strikeout rate against right-handed pitching since the All-Star break. That's a 25.9% rate right now. And then when you're talking about the higher price guys, I still want to try and kind of save in that general area of relative to the price range. Brady Singer's a guy I like a lot at 9.2K going against the D-backs. They have a 24.2% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching since the break.
All right, Nick, take us to the infield. Are you going to splurge or save here?
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to save here. Whit Merrifield is a guy that kind of jumps out to me in that lower 3K range, but one who I really like a lot, just below 4K, is Jose Abreu at 3.9K, going up against the Orioles. Abreu, I know he's had a little bit of a power outage of late, but he's still hitting 328 against right-handed pitching this month. He's going up against a guy in Spencer Watkins, who is absolutely the type of pitcher that could help Abreu have a nice little power surge today. 44% fly ball rate against right-handed hitting since the break. 34% hard contact rate against right-handed since the break.
All right, where are you going to go on this one, Paul?
I'll give you high-low options on this one too, Jesse. One of my favorite ball players in the major leagues, Paul Goldschmidt, stands out on the high side. Price tag is $6,200. This guy's no longer a secret now that he's out of Arizona and in stacked St. Louis roster. This season is no exception to what he's done in any of his years in the major leagues. And it's sparked by a couple of really torrid weeks that lead into tonight's action, where he's not only collecting 5 homers, but he's also had 5 multi-hit games over the last 14 outings. His .335 batting average and .417 OBP are no flukes, folks. He has a great opportunity to pad those numbers with the Cubs' Luke Farrell making his 2022 debut, to be followed by weak bullpen options. there for the Cubbies. I mentioned the Tampa Rays earlier and planned to include first baseman Harold Ramirez in my lineup for $3,700. They got that favorable matchup that I highlighted earlier. He's enjoying a long stretch of productivity recently, too, reaching base safely 13 of his last 15 starts. That includes an incredible 9 multi-hit games. He'll be featured in the middle of the Rays' improved lineup, and I expect him to have another good night tonight.
All right, Paul, take us to the outfield. Splurge or save here?
I like the matchup for the Phillies, and particularly for Kyle Schwarber here, Jesse, against the Reds. TJ Zoik, a former Blue Jays farmhand that I know a little bit about. He's had big problems surrendering a whopping 10 homers and only 19 innings pitched so far this year. The free-swinging Phillies are going to have a field day with him, I think. And Schwarber is a slugger who will enjoy the platoon edge here as well, coming into on his own heater with 6 multi-hit efforts in his last 12 starts. You get him for $6,000 and I don't expect his ownership to be too high, though he sits atop RotoWire's projected value points among batters for tonight with 12.64, the number there. If you're considering a cheap stat option, I'm looking at a pair of White Sox who each collected a pair of hits last night against Baltimore in the series opener. A.J. Pollock is the table setter there at the top of this roster, costing only $3,300, while Gavin Sheets is normally in the middle third of the lineup, costing only $2,300. I'm in the camp that expects the Orioles to drop off soon and fall out of contention, and have noticed a decline, particularly in tonight's starting pitcher Spencer Watkins. He's given up 30 hits over his last 25 innings pitched in 5 short starts. That's a significant uptick in batters being able to reach him over more impressive early season numbers.
All right, Nick, what do you think? Schwarber's $6K is the third most expensive outfielder. Do you feel like you want to spend up in this category?
That's definitely a guy that jumps out, and I do want to splurge in the outfield category, but he's not the guy I want to do it with. Mookie Betts jumps out up against Adrian Hauser, but Yordan Alvarez is the guy that I really like, 5.6K, going up against the Twins. Dillon Bundy is on the mound, and I know that Yordan has slowed down quite a bit this month. Only 1 extra base hit against right-handed pitching this month. That's insane. That can't maintain, especially when you consider he's got a 35.5% fly ball rate and a 58.1% hard contact rate against right-handed pitching this month. Dillon Bundy is a guy he's had decent success against throughout his career. 273 average, 1 home run, 1 double, and I think it was 17 or 13 plate appearances. But left-handed hitters have a 54.8% fly ball rate against Bundy since the break. I love that number for Yordan Alvarez, and I think he's going to pop off tonight.
All right, finally, let's look over on the DK Sportsbook. So are you going to splurge and go with an underdog tonight, or are you going to play it safe with a favorite on the board? What do you think, Nick?
So, yeah, there's not a lot of – so it's tough now because we're at that point in the year where the favorites are just so heavily favored and understandable. I mean, you look at the White Sox game, and I think that Paul made some good points there. Don't like Spencer Watkins a whole lot. Then I look at the Royals game, and I do like the Royals in that one, but Zach Gallen is a tough opponent for Brady Singer to go up against. And that's where, when we're looking at, riskier, safer plays, the safer play that I like most right now tonight is actually the total on the Royals Diamondbacks game. I like the under in that one. It's at 7.5 right now, -115. Gallen has been dynamite since the break. And guess what? Brady Singer hasn't been much worse. He has been awesome too. And you look at the total on this game, 7.5. The under is only 3-6 in Gallen starts on this total since the break, but the total is also 5-1 in Singer starts since the break. And the over has been hitting in those Gallen starts because of Arizona's offense, and I don't like them against Singer tonight.
All right, Paul, where are you going for this?
Well, Nick implied what I'm thinking too. There's several favorites that should be heavily favored, and I think you make your money on the run line in games where you pick the Rays, Cardinals, and the Blue Jays in what should be very lopsided matchups. If you're looking for a chance to make bigger money, I think I look to a game of 2 also-rans, the D-backs and the Royals. The D-backs are playing much better than the Royals of late. That puny attack in Kansas City, one of the weakest in the majors, while the Diamondbacks are getting some runs out of their lineup of late. So I'll take them to win on the run line, and that will be a +140 payoff. It's a bullpen day for both clubs, so this is going to be unwatchable. I'll just wait for the updates.
All right, Paul, Nick, thank you so much. Appreciate the time as always. Gojo invading the sweat coming up next. TB12 back in Tampa after a break from the squad. Do the boys think everyone in camp is cool with that? That's next. check out the Gojo Show every weekday to hear former Notre Dame teammates Mike Golick Jr. and Brandon Newman offer their unique perspective on the hottest topics across sports and pop culture. You can grab the show wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, and more. But you can also check these guys out right here on The Sweat right now. Mike, Brandon, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to get to visit you. I see we've upgraded from Emerson.
Exactly. I was like, I'm sorry I had to do that to you, that you guys had to work with him all summer while I was on maternity leave. So now you have the A team, which is me, here to talk with you guys. I know you guys went to Notre Dame. I'm a Boston College gal.
You know, we won't hold that against you. Everyone makes mistakes.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's just jump right in. Let's talk football. Tom Brady back in camp with Tampa after taking 11 days off to spend some time with family, fulfill some family commitments. Like, obviously, everything TB12 does is under a microscope, right? Everyone's tweeting about it. Everybody's talking about it. But do you think anyone in the locker room had a problem with him walking away for a bit? Like, I mean, this is Tom Brady, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's anyone in that locker room that's really going to have an issue with what went on here. Number one, because this is a team that largely kept its pieces intact. It's been the same core since he got there, which means those guys know Tom Brady. They know how he works. They've seen it up close. They also know the reputation. Tom Brady is widely known as a darn good teammate across as many spots, despite not really having that much in common with his less famous teammates, and his work ethic is undeniable and world famous at this point. So I don't think there's anyone on that team that can look at Tom Brady and believe that he wasn't handling his business even while he was away from the team. It's abnormal, but those are the things you get to do when you're a 45-year-old GOAT. Yeah,
Brandon, do you think anyone gave a hoot about this? Come on.
Absolutely not. I feel like they want to be in on the secret to why he was leaving over all things. Like, I think I can just imagine him in the shower and other places around the facility as well, but like guys elbowing him like, hey man, are we man singer? Like, what'd you sing? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like everyone wants to get into why, because they know that Tom Brady doesn't need another preseason. Tom Brady's good. If anyone could strap it up week one and do a damn good job, it's that guy, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all on the same page with that one. All right, one more week of preseason games in the NFL, which means one more week of talking about games that don't matter. But what are some of the things that stood out and did matter for you guys in week 2 of the preseason?
Yeah, I would say for me, it was a couple of the rookie quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett's got everyone in Pittsburgh hot and bothered right now. Mike Tomlin even said as much heading into the final preseason game, that's a legitimate competition between Mitch Trubisky, who everyone assumes would be the starter, versus the rookie out of Pitt, who went 6 of 7 for 76 yards and a touchdown and looked really good under pressure in the 2-minute drill. The other rookie quarterback that impressed me a lot was down in Atlanta, Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati. Only 3 incompletions in the game, made some really tight window throws. And while Marcus Mariota is still going to be the guy here, I think, in the here and now, Desmond Ridder is showing a lot of people, not just the tools that were so exciting for him coming out of Cincinnati, but I think the poise and maturity you would expect from a guy who was a 4-year starter at a place that broke the group of 5 streak of not being involved in the college football playoff.
Brandon, what do you think? Obviously, everything's under a microscope right now. Anything stick out to you?
I mean, Kevontae Turpin taking it back to the house, 98-yard return, 86-yard punt return. That's very, very exciting. But also, not just the rookie quarterbacks, Mike, the quarterbacks that we expect to do a lot of things, like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, getting a chance to see Patrick Mahomes go out there and look just like the wizard Harry Potter young man that he always has, we've known him to be, the guy who's chasing Tom Brady, might have a chance to actually get to the Super Bowl this year without Tyreek Hill.
All right, guys, we, of course, love talking about the NFL, but when we have you on, it's fun to talk college, too, all right? So the season kicks off this weekend. You guys talk some Pac-12 on the pod this week. The biggest Pac-12 game of this weekend is Oregon coming in as 17-point dogs against the defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs. But when you look at the conference as a whole here, USC favored to win the Pac-12 at plus 220. By the way, they're favored by 34.5 this weekend against Rice. So who's your favorite to take home the Pac-12 title?
Yeah, I want to look at the second name on that list and go with Utah. I think USC were probably going to be a year too early to market, because when you've got as much change as they're absorbing, and Lincoln Riley has overhauled that roster in the transfer portal, obviously starting at quarterback with Caleb Williams, Jordan Addison at wide receiver, But that also invites room for error along the way because there's so much volatility and so much change. Utah, set identity, a team that we saw last year coming in with a lot of goodwill after beating up Oregon physically, mentally, spiritually in the last couple matchups they had in that season. They've got a quarterback in Cam Rising, who I think is one of the most interesting in college football, and a chance to pick up a big out-of-conference win and kind of start this train going week 1 when they go on the road to the Swamp and take on the Florida Gators.
Yeah, Brandon, what do you think?
I can't get away from the top. USC. It's the sexiest storyline. Lincoln Riley's first year. Pac-12 obviously about to lose USC permanently. They're not a complete team. Like, they don't have it up in front in the trenches, but I think that's going to make for a very exciting season to watch, especially with Lincoln Riley and whatever they're going to do on offense there. I think they end the season with Notre Dame, which is going to be a very, very big game in November, late November. I just can't get my eyes off of USC. I have my eyes on Hollywood.
All right, I love that. So we've covered football here. Let's go with 2 sports adjacent topics next with you guys. So first, a video has been circling on the internet. It sent the internet aflame, actually. A Yankees fan making a straw out of a hot dog in order to drink his beer. And I would like to point out that he used a straw to make the hot dog straw. So it's not like he didn't have a straw. Like, he had a straw and he used it to make a hot dog straw. Now, Mike, you've been known to mix some interesting foods in the past. You also did play-by-play on a Nathan's hot dog eating contest. But what's your take on this guy? Straight to jail or what?
I'm not going to lie. I might be going there in cuffs with him because I looked at the flavor combo and I said, this can't be that bad. We have beer and hot dogs at the park all the time. And so you're just getting them a little bit closer together than people are comfortable for. And I get it. He blew past the stop sign of the straw in favor of something more different. But that's the bravery that you need from innovators. I will say, on the Gojo show today, and you'll be able to see it, we're now on the DraftKings YouTube channel as well, we decided to experiment with what we had in the house. I did a banana straw for rosé, and I gotta say, pretty solid results here. It's a perfect little match of flavors that might spice up a summer afternoon for somebody.
That sounds interesting.
Delicious?
Yeah.
I see you kind of intrigued right now.
I might try it.
Listen, it's Steve Jobs, Wozniak. Like, the geniuses always get looked at they're crazy at times, right? This guy was innovative. And I think anytime you can mix food with beverage, you got to give it a shot. I do hear you, though. The fact that you have a straw to make the straw is a certain level of commitment that certain people aren't used to seeing that thing. But I think he's starting a real trend. Glizzies and beers all season long for the NFL season.
Yeah, that's what really got me. I was like, this man is using his straw to make the hot dog straw. So you can't just be like, oh, he didn't have a straw. He's an innovator. It's like he was like, I'm going to make the hot dog straw. But if the Yankees were smart, they would turn it into a combo and charge everybody $40 for it.
Yes.
Obviously that will probably happen. Capitalism. All right, next Tuesday is Mike Golick Jr. bobblehead night at the Hartford Yard Dogs. Let's go. The AA affiliate of the Colorado Rockies. So, Mike, is this your first bobblehead night? And, how'd they do on the likeness here?
It is my first bobblehead night. A big thank you to the folks over at the Yard Goats. They couldn't go all the way with the tattoos, which I understand. That's a lot of work there. They gave me a great lineup on the beard. The sneakers were clean and pristine. I love the bobblehead. What I'm most worried about, and I feel like I need to consult Jared Carabas on this, the Rocket, after what he managed to do at Fenway, I got to throw out the first pitch at this thing. And I didn't grow up playing a ton of baseball the way Jared did. It's been a little while since I've warmed up the arm, so that's really going to be the touch and go moment for me, is what I'm able to do from the mound before we start giving away the bobbleheads.
Yeah, Brandon, what do you think? Is he going to nail that first pitch?
I have all the faith in the world in my boy Mike Golick Jr. that it will be content at the end of the day. I hope that he has a nice, strong, maybe a little change up right over the plate. I know he's going to get across the plate, but if anything, he'll look good doing it.
All right, either way, content. All press is good press, am I right? All right, so finally, last week we started giving out the Gojo's Rose of the Week. What player, team, or thing in the world has earned your admiration and receives this week's rose? Where are we going to go with this?
I'll start over here with Kevin Durant.
Oh,
Yes, I'm giving it to Kevin Durant because he has to sit in his stew. He has decided to piss off everyone and let everyone know just how unhappy he is. And now he's back in timeout in his little corner in the Brooklyn Nets. And I hope they make something of the season. But I love that a superstar didn't get his way for once in the NBA.
I love that. We're actually talking about that in our next segment. So great.
Segue.
There we go, Segway King. I will hand out a rose here. We had UFC 278 over the weekend, and Luke Rockhold, the former middleweight champ, came off a 3-year hiatus to fight Paulo Costa, and it was a bloody spectacle the entire fight. This was a guy who I don't know how Luke Rockhold survived till the end of this. Couldn't breathe through his nose because it was stuffed up with so much blood. He was stumbling around, somehow managed to land some blows, and then rub his own gushing blood all over the face of his opponent before announcing his retirement in the most relatable way possible. Just gassed and out of breath, telling Joe Rogan, I'm too old for this bleep. I can't do it anymore. I'm done. Nothing but respect for a guy who we saw Daniel Cormier's response. He's a widely respected veteran fighter and who went out in a true flaming bloody blaze of glory.
A bloody blaze of glory. Love that. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. And don't forget, you can check out The Gojo Show wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts: Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, DraftKings, YouTube. Amazing. So make sure you go check them out. And stay right here because after this break, we are going to look at the sportsbook impact of KD's return to Brooklyn. Let's go. Welcome back to The Sweat. I'm Jesse Cofield. We are now joined by our basketball contributors, Julian Edlow, DK Nation's Chinmay Vaidya, to talk all things NBA. And obviously, this is Kevin Durant edition because the big news of yesterday, Nets GM Sean Marks releasing a statement saying in part, Steve Nash and I, together with Joe Tsai, Clara Wu Tsai, met with Kevin Durant and Rich Kleiman in Los Angeles yesterday. We've agreed to move forward with our partnership. We are focusing on basketball with one collective goal in mind: build a lasting franchise to bring a championship to Brooklyn. So KD is staying, but do you believe that the drama is over in Brooklyn, Julian? We just talked about this in our previous segment with the guys from the Gojo podcast, and Brandon was like, he loved this because he felt like for once a superstar didn't get their way in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, he's right about that. The Nets essentially said to Kevin Durant, we have you under contract for 4 years and we're going to keep you because you're one of the best players in the NBA. That's why, Kevin Durant kind of gave up the power in signing his extension. This is why LeBron James essentially goes year to year or signs 2-year deals with the second year as a player option. Like, he always controls his fate, and Kevin Durant doesn't have that right now. But is this going to work out? Absolutely not. Kyrie Irving wanted to leave, and the only way to leave was to take a $30 million pay cut to go to the Lakers, and he didn't, and he took his money to be in Brooklyn, where he doesn't want to be. The third piece they're building around is Ben Simmons, who won't have played in a year and a half, and every time the ball is in Ben Simmons' hands, it's not in Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant's hands. That's a good thing if I'm playing against the Nets. I want the ball in Simmons' hands. And then you have Durant, who essentially said, I'd like to be traded. The Nets said no. Durant said, okay, then I need you to fire the general manager and coach. The Nets said no. And then Kevin Durant said, okay, then I'm not going to show up to work. And the Nets said, okay, fine. And then they said, okay, we're all going to work together. That's not going to work. Like, think of any other situation where that works. That doesn't sound like a work environment that people are going to be comfortable in. And we know we're dealing with big personalities here. So whether it be the trade deadline or an injury or Kyrie coming up with a reason to sit out or Ben Simmons getting in the mix and messing things up, or something Steve Nash does or something management does, like there's so many moving pieces that can cause a problem here that I will bet that there's going to be a problem, and the Nets aren't going to be this talented team that everybody has expected them to be the last few years and be one of the top teams in the East.
All right, Chidmay, reports of Durant potentially being traded to Boston and Memphis were circulating as recently as Monday. Like, this is crazy. So how do you feel about it?
Yeah, there's certainly going to be some damage control that needs to be done in some of these other franchises that were sending out offers for Durant, which clearly were underwhelming because the Nets didn't take any of them. And going back to the drama piece, I mean, it all starts even with that statement that the Nets released. There's a boardroom logo on that statement, along with the Brooklyn Nets logo. Where's the unity here? Where's this? What is this partnership? Is this KD and the boardroom partnering with the Nets? What's going on here? This is not going to work, as Julian said. There's too much drama surrounding each individual component of the Nets core, which is Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons, and Kevin Durant. The way I read this is Kevin Durant is going to start the season with the Nets, and if things go south for whatever reason, this could blow up really quickly, even by the trade deadline. We know Kyrie Irving has been trying to get out. We don't know if Ben Simmons will be on the court to begin the season. I mean, who knows with him? So really, this is going to be damage control all the way, and maybe Steve Nash has to go at some point. Maybe Sean Marks steps aside. Who knows? There's no shortage of drama here, and it didn't end with this statement, which just added to the confusion, in my opinion.
Yeah, Jules, the Nets are plus 700 to win the NBA title. You're obviously not going to bet that. Is there anything with the Nets you do want to bet, or any of these other teams here?
Yeah, I mean, if you know, Kevin Durant was at one time around plus 300 to return to the Nets. If you got that, great. And if you took some 40-1 on the Nets to win it all when he was asking for his trade, then great. Now you have good value. And if they're, you know, in position in the playoffs, you can start making some pretty big hedges on that. But as things stand, you know, you can bet the Nets plus 1,000 to miss the playoffs this season. I don't see them getting a top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference the way that it's constructed. I think the top 4 are pretty clear, and 5 and 6 has some other talented teams that can sneak in there. So even if the Nets get in the play-in round and you have a plus 1,000 ticket for them to miss the playoffs, you can afford to bet Nets minus 300 money line or minus 400 money line in a play-in game if you're holding that ticket. And then there's also the chance that somebody gets hurt or things just go wrong, like we all believe, and the team blows up, and then they have the potential to miss the postseason. So that's kind of the big swing that I would take on the plus 1,000, but I think their win total is now set at 51.5. I'll take an under there. They're just not going to have all these guys on the court in enough games against really good teams in the East and West to win that many games. So I'll play under on the Nets win total as the safe play with a little sprinkle on 10-1 odds to miss the postseason.
Yeah, Chinmay, you don't like this either, do you?
I'll definitely take the under on the win total. I think that's way too high, but I am a little bit more optimistic as far as the Nets ceiling is concerned. I do think that if these players do show up, they are a championship caliber team. Even with KD missing time, Kyrie out last year because of the vaccine mandate, and Ben Simmons not playing for basically the second half of the season, they still managed 44 wins. So if you factor in that Kyrie is going to be a full-time player now, Kevin Durant will hopefully be able to stay healthy for a little bit longer than he has been over the past 2 seasons. And Ben Simmons does make an appearance. Joe Harris comes back. They also got Royce O'Neal. They have a nice group of players around KD, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons. So if everything does come together, this team absolutely still is a championship caliber team. The question is, do we believe that the chemistry is going to be there and the functionality is going to be there among the players and the coaching staff in the front office? That's really the big question, because if they do figure it out, they absolutely are a championship caliber team. So at plus 700, I do think that is a little bit inflated right now just because of the hype of KD coming back. I expect that number to drop a little bit, and when it does drop, I might be willing to take that at some number, maybe plus 1,000 or plus 1,200 if it does fall to that. But I do think they absolutely are a championship caliber team. I'll bet under on the win total for now, but this team does have a high ceiling.
All right, Jules, how about Durant being plus 700 to win MVP? Like, any interest in a sprinkle on there?
No, the ceiling is there for sure. And this is coming from somebody that the year that they lost in the game 7 to the Bucks, when Harden got hurt, Kyrie got hurt, like one of my bigger NBA bets in the last handful of seasons was the Nets to win the Eastern Conference. Like I've believed in the ceiling on this team. That one hurt. I was a big Nets fan that year. But at this point, Durant winning MVP, I don't know if he's going to get the games under his belt. I don't know where he's going to finish the season. I don't know how much, if things do go well for the Nets, and that means Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving playing well, those are 2 point guards. The ball's going to be in their hands a lot. That takes away some from Durant, who's a really good facilitator when he has to be. So, like, there's just too many moving parts, and plus 700 is way too low for me to consider it. I would rather just go after, Joel Embiid's been knocking on the door 2 years in a row. If he stays healthy, he's going to get one at some point. Jason Tatum is the lead man on probably the best roster, top to bottom in the NBA, coming off that finals loss. They'll be motivated. He could get one. There's other younger stars that I think are in better position. Luka, of course, is always going to be right there. Giannis is going to be right there. There's other stars, younger, hungrier, in better positions that I think that I would rather bet on.
Chinmay, Jules mentioned he's not sure if KD will get the games under his belt. So obviously he hasn't had any huge injuries since that Achilles tear in 2019, but he has missed time these last 2 seasons with lesser injuries, 37 regular season games in 2021-22 and 27 this past year.
Yeah, as Julian mentioned, he does have some health issues, and maybe they stem from that Achilles back in 2019. These are injuries that build up over time. Wear and tear that KD has had. He's entering his mid-30s, so it's going to take a little bit of a toll on his body. But I actually do think that this number is correct. I do think that Durant's production over the last few years has been wildly consistent at an extremely high level. So if he does get the requisite number of games under his belt, he's going to be in the conversation just because he has been this insane model of consistency. But as we alluded to previously, the Nets just might not be that good. The Nets might not be at the top of the East or near the top of the East. So I think Durant, the number is correct here at plus 700. I do think that's appropriate for where he should be, but I just don't think I'm comfortable betting this right now, given the uncertainty, the Nets overall. We know what it takes generally for an MVP to win the award. He has to be the best player on his team, and that team usually has to be near the top of the standings, or at least a playoff lock. And at this point, I don't think it's easy to say that the Nets are a playoff lock, given the drama that they're going to have at this point of the season.
All right, fellas, thank you. Good stuff. We're going to continue our NFL divisional previews when the sweat returns. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Sweat. I'm Jesse Cofield. I am joined now by our NFL panel. We have Jeff Ulrich and Pierce Dietrich here with us because we are continuing our DFS and Sportsbook previews of each division leading up to kickoff of the football season, which is almost here. So we're on to the NFC South. So let's just jump in. Top DFS player in the division. Is it Tom Brady, CMC, Alvin Kamara? Is it someone else? Jeff, what do we think?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot to choose from here. I mean, we could even throw Mike Evans in the mix if we wanted to. Pierce's top projected player for the year. Michael Thomas could be in the conversation. I'm gonna go with Alvin Kamara here. I know that a lot of people probably the easy layup is Christian McCaffrey, but man, I really like the setup for Kamara. Obviously, the suspension news has fallen in his favor, at least for this year. He's likely it's going to be a 2023 thing. But you look at what the Saints are going to do on offense, and Mark Ingram is the backup here. Mark Ingram is here because he knows the system. He's not here to take a ton of snaps away from Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is going to be the center focal of all this offense, and I think that the Saints are going to be a lot better team than people realize. That's why I'll take him over Christian McCaffrey. I just think that the Saints are going to be a better team. I think there's going to be more opportunities for Kamara to put up those 3-4 touchdown games, which he did last year. And I just really like where the Saints are sitting in the preseason. So give me Kamara here. I think he's going to be a very, very focal part of this offense. Again, we know the receptions are going to be there, and I think the rushing touchdowns, I think he could push for career highs.
All right, Pierce, what do you think? Do you want to go with the favorite, Christian McCaffrey here?
I don't know if anyone is a favorite considering injury concerns. The safest play would be Tom Brady, but pocket passers have a limited upside. And if Brady ends up with the most points in this division, it's because Christian McCaffrey has suffered another injury, and Kamara's role just is not quite as solid as we think. But if CMC is healthy, his injuries over the last season are not the type that are going to slow him down. So if he can stay on the field, he's definitely going to end up at the top. And Matt Rule absolutely needs him to have a great season. If Matt Rule wants to survive another year, it's pretty much single-handedly in the hands of Christian McCaffrey. So he's going to feed the ball to Christian McCaffrey. I agree with Kamara being up there, but the concerns that you have with Kamara is that there are a lot of mouths to feed on this team. He'll still get plenty of volume, but Michael Thomas is going to poach some touchdowns. You've got a mobile quarterback now that's going to poach some touchdowns. We could even see Ingram getting some goal line carries. And at the end of the day, we could end up seeing Kamara fall a little bit lower in terms of season-long fantasy performance. And Jeff talked about my guy, Michael Thomas. I really strongly believe that Michael Thomas is going to have a breakout season. This is the first time you're really seeing him with a big arm quarterback. Other guys are going to have good seasons. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson will have good seasons, but they won't be at the top of the board, though.
All right, Pierce, speaking of the top of the board, the Bucs are the favorites to win the division at minus 250. Are they the only choice here? I mean, they're arguably the best team in the NFC. Like in 2021, they tied the Green Bay Packers for the best record in the NFL at 13-4.
They are, but those odds aren't very enticing for me. I would much rather lean towards something with a little bit longer of odds and go with Carolina at plus 900. It sounds pretty crazy, but we could walk through this. Obviously, we can take the Falcons right off the board, scratch them out. They don't have a chance. So when it comes to long odds, we've got Carolina with a lot of changes. They fixed their offensive line. They have plenty of offensive weapons. Their defense was average to slightly above average last season. We never got to see it because their offense couldn't stay on the field. It was always putting their defense in really bad situations. It's a better defense than most expect. Do we really trust the Saints? We've got Jameis Winston at quarterback. What has he ever done in the NFL? We like the receivers. We like the running backs. We like the defense. But at the end of the day, it is still Jameis Winston leading the Saints team. Can you trust them? Can you bet them? Could Carolina jump above them? They absolutely can. And then it comes down to Tampa just staying healthy. Of course, Tampa is pretty much the favorite, and they should get this done. But in terms of if I want to bet something right now and make a nice little bit of money, I can't bet Tampa. But I can talk myself into Carolina bouncing back this season.
All right, Jeff, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, look, I can't hate it. I like fading the Bucs too. A little bit different reasons than Pierce, but I mean, if you're going to take a long shot, like if you're going to fade the Bucs, I mean, like Carolina plus 900, I think the odds are big enough to do it. But I'm all about the Saints. I really am. I get that, like Jameis Winston, Tom Brady, it's not a fair fight, but Jameis Winston was putting up career numbers in this offense through 7 games last year. And look, I think that the bottom line here is there's not much between the Bucs and the Saints when you take out the quarterback position. These two defenses were basically exactly the same in terms of a lot of rankings last year. I think that the Saints probably are the better unit this year, if we're being honest. And really, I just don't think enough is being made about the Bucs O-line issues. Like, they have lost a couple starters, and I get it. Like, maybe these aren't the highest end O linemen in the league, but when you start to lose that depth and you got to bring in like the plus size male models, right, Pierce? Like, trouble starts quick when you get injury issues on the O line. The Bucs have the Saints week 2. They're not going to be at full force. I really like the Saints opening schedule as well. Give me the Saints at plus 310. I think that at the very least, this spread between these two teams should be far smaller. Obviously, the Bucs should be favored, but the Saints at plus 310, I think it's honestly one of the best values on the board still as we head into the start of the regular season.
Strong words, Jeff. All right, how about your favorite team win total in the division?
I mean, I've let the cat out of the bag.
Saints?
It's the Saints. It's 8.5 wins. I mean, again, like, let's go over their starting schedule. Falcons, Panthers, Seahawks, and then they got the Vikings, and they have the Bucs in there. But again, the Bucs, no Godwin, the O-line issues. Like, this is a very, very bit of a layup schedule, and it doesn't get like that much tougher as we go on. I definitely trust the Saints here at 8.5. And again, like, you know, they do have the new coach and you know, Winston, but the Dennis Allen was there last year. Like, I think this is going to be a smoother transition for the Saints than the Bucs as well. I trust Dennis Allen a little bit more, mainly just because he's been so good on the defensive side of the ball. When you have a team that has a really good rush game, that has a really good defense, and you only have 8.5 win total, like, these are teams that you can back. I think there's very good value in taking the over on the Saints this year at 8.5, and we're still getting minus 105 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Again, not sure how much longer these lines are going to last on the Saints. Maybe they'll last until the start of the regular season. No one will get hyped about it, but I'm hyped about the Saints. Give me the over 8.5 wins.
All right, Pierce, you want the Panthers over 6.5?
I'll take the safe route. See, I like the Panthers bet because we can get plus 900 odds. And if we're just doing over-unders, you really can't chase anything here in terms of big payouts. So you have the safest bet. That's Tampa. I can't believe how much Jeff trusts the Saints. And I agree that these teams are very similar except in one category. And it's a big category. It's called quarterback. Tom Brady, just a little bit better than Jameis Winston. Like, how can you trust Jameis Winston? The guy legally can't even get in an Uber these days. I don't know how you can support this idea. Like, what has Jameis Winston done? Played a couple good games last season. I just can't get behind it. I think this is going to go haywire. And if it doesn't, I mean, just the probability of it is very high. Whereas with Tampa, yeah, there are injury concerns, but they are a really deep team. Is their line as good as it was last season? No, but the same can be said for the Saints. The Saints lost the best offensive lineman through free agency. The other teams can't suffer injuries. It's going to absolutely derail their season. Tampa can. Tampa can get through this division, get over their win total. They may not go far in the playoffs like we witnessed last season, but they've got enough depth that they can get over their 11.5 total.
Pierce, my daughter's name is Nola. Of course I'm going to back the Saints. I mean, you know, it's...
Is that really a name?
Yes. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. All right, Pierce, favorite player future in the division, is it a Jameis Winston one?
It's connected to that. I'll take Michael Thomas getting the most receiving yards this season at plus 6,000. If you are bullish like I am on Michael Thomas, wanting to play, being back at full strength, being with a quarterback that will fire the ball downfield, we've seen Michael Thomas in previous seasons, A, not want to be there, and I don't blame him. Who wanted to be playing for the Saints last season? B, he had a quarterback that couldn't throw the ball down the field, so Michael Thomas was really kind of handcuffed in what he could do. Well, now you got a strong arm quarterback that's kind of mobile, that should be able to spread Thomas all over the field. Great opportunity for him to get a ton of yards. You can also get him over 800 yards. I think that's another safe play. And then also looking at Kyle Pitts over 4.5 touchdowns. My apologies to Nola. I guess that is a real name.
Jeff, what's your favorite player future in the division?
Rough morning for my daughter. Look, I was all ready to like get on Pierce's guy here and back Michael Thomas with them. I do think that Michael Thomas's props are interesting right now. I would rather go the over on the yardage, 800.5. I just think it's too low. I mean, if we get 10 healthy games of Michael Thomas, he could go over this, right? So, like, when you're looking at player props, you usually want to go under on the guys who are coming off the big seasons and they have the juiced up props, and then you want to go over on the guys like a Michael Thomas who are coming off injury-prone seasons. No one trusts them. Their yardage totals are way down. 800.5 for Michael Thomas. I will take that, absolutely. I think that the other prop I like in this division is Baker Mayfield under 3,700 yards. It's 700 yards. 3,700 yards for the simple fact that any poor play by Baker, we could just see Sam Darnold, and you take a couple games away from him, he won't hit 3,700 yards. So those are 2 player props I'm definitely looking at for NFC South.
All right, good stuff. Jeff is just really frazzled by all the NOLA talk. Good stuff. Jeff, actually stick around. Coming up next, can Patrick Cantlay do it again and walk away with the Tour Championship? Jeff Ulrich, Len Hochberg, gonna be here. We're gonna get DFS picks right after this quick break.
Gonna unfrazzle myself.
Welcome back to the Sweat, final block of the show, and we're talking all things golf. We have DraftKings contributor Reed Fowler and RotoWire senior golf writer Len Hochberg. Fellas, first things first, we're gonna talk price check for the Tour Championship, but we gotta talk TGL, right? Okay, so if you're wondering what the TGL is, same. It's an innovative golf league in partnership with the PGA Tour, fusing advanced tech and live action in prime time. So the league gonna launch with 6 teams, each consisting of 3 PGA Tour players. Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy are the first 2 golfers committed to compete. So Reed, like, what's your take on this? It sounds very futuristic. It's in partnership with the Tour. Like, what are we thinking here?
Yeah, where was this all the while back when Liv was in our forefront, in our minds? Look, this might have been the master plan for these 2 guys, and they just probably announced it right around the time that Liv was about to go after all of their guys on the PGA Tour once the Tour Championship ends. But you know what it sounds like, guys? It sounds like a lot of the PGA Tour members like the idea of Liv, but don't like Greg Norman. That's probably what it is, right? So they probably want someone like Tiger and Rory to back it, but it should be interesting. It's almost the same thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, do you think a lot of people, Len, who are going with Liv are like, oh crap?
I think there is some buyer's remorse this morning, and I think it's important to stress that a lot of these changes, this is not completely in reaction to Liv. The PGA Tour just had a huge influx of cash this year, new big television deal. A lot of these changes were going to happen. Maybe not as many, maybe not as quickly, but they were going to happen anyway. I imagine that some golfers are thinking, what if I waited a few months? I wouldn't have had to endure the shame or whatever of Liv.
Yeah. All right. Interesting stuff. Going to be interesting to see how that plays out and how it sort of competes with Liv here. All right. Let's get into PGA Tour price check, though. So which players do you like in these price ranges for the Tour Championship? So let's see. Oh, I'm going to read something first. Should I read that, guys? Yeah. Just kidding. I'm just going to go to the questions. Welcome back, Jesse. All right, so besides the top dogs, you got Scheffler, Cantlay. We have 4 other golfers who are going to be over 10K in price. So you have Xander Schauffele, Jon Rahm, Rory McIlroy, Cam Smith. So who do you like the most out of that group, Reed?
Yeah, Jesse, I didn't get any sleep either last night.
Yeah, it's like a baby, but
it's a baby thing. My guy had gas. So look, this is something where you take a look at the last 3 winning lineups, and it's been Rory, it's been Xander, it's been JT, right? Those 3 guys have been, really good at Eastlake. It's really, really hard to fade Xander. I get it, but if I'm going to go to Rory McIlroy. If you look at Jon Rahm last year, and then even Rory when he won in 2019. These guys are massively rostered. So when you talk about the Tour Championship, you talk about roster percentage, zigging, zagging, what have you, do that in the lower price range, guys. For the top, give me Rory.
All right, Len, when you're looking at the top of the board here, who do you like?
Yeah, there's a lot to like from all of them. And I was bigger on Rory before I saw he was paired with Cam Smith, not to get back to the live thing, but this is going to be an interesting dynamic. This is sort of good versus evil in a lot of people's eyes, that Cam Smith should come out wearing black and Rory should be in all white. I don't know how either one is going to react to the weirdness of the situation. I like Jon Rahm best of all. He is the fact that he is 10,900 and is so high, top 5 guy in the sports book, really shows that everybody thinks, at least the smart people think, that he can do very well this week. And he actually had the low 72 and 10,900. His price shows the respect he deserves this week.
All right, Len, given the format, is there value to be found here this week?
Yeah, I find myself looking at the top guys, a number of whom you just mentioned, we just talked about, and not finding much in the middle. But we can't shy away from the 5,000. Sounds odd to even say that. There are only 30 guys in the field. They're not going to miss a cut. They don't have to pass too many guys to get high on the leaderboard. Certainly, if you want to have 2 or 3 of these big dogs in there, you're going to have to go that way. Billy Horschel, 6,900, plays well here every year. He's won it. He's finished second. He was 7th last year. Adam Scott at 6,600 on a huge heater, coming in top 5 and in both playoff events. What a finish to his season. And I'm going to have JT Poston all the way down at 5,100 in some of my lineups for the reasons I said. He is a great putter too. He can get hot. Eastlake, you have to putt. I could see him climbing the leaderboard as long as he just doesn't have the approach, just happy to be here.
Reed, what's your strategy for finding value this week?
Yeah, I'm surprised Len actually called Jeff last night and said, hey, since you're not going to be in the golf segment, I'm going to A, shout out Billy Horschel, and B, going to do what you always do, which is name 15 guys at the very bottom, which I appreciate that, Len, because it's true. Like, he's right. This is top 30, right, in the FedEx Cup standings. Look, there's been 4 or 5 guys around that number. If you look from 2019 to last year, of the top contest on DraftKings, that were in the winning lineup below $6,000, which means that these guys have nothing to lose. They're going to YOLO, as the kids say. And that guy for me is Aaron Wise, $5,400. We saw it with Kevin Na. Len talked about Billy Horschel, who was 30th last year. There's guys like this. Look, Stallings should have won that golf tournament. I mean, Patrick Cantlay did something to get that miraculous bounce on 17 last week. So give me Stallings and give me Aaron Wise, who's been playing absolutely fantastic. I know it's Jeff's boy, but got to take him.
All right, Reed, who's your favorite DFS play this week for the Tour Championship, and who do you think wins the FedEx Cup?
Yeah, I think it's Scotty Scheffler. I think he wins. He becomes one of the top guys, one of a very few amount of players who has 5 wins in a PGA Tour season. That's like Tiger, JT, Jason Day, Spieth, those guys. But this is the season end. Tony Finau, everybody. Play Tony Finau. He is going to be the best guy out there. Love him.
All right, Len, what do you think?
I think Scheffler will win the FedEx Cup, but my favorite play is Jon Rahm at 10,900, $2,700 cheaper than Scotty Scheffler. That means you can play a $9,000 golfer with Jon Rahm, whereas you would have to go to 6,300 for Scheffler. I might like Scheffler better individually, but if we're talking lineups, I like Rahm and that $9,000 guy versus the other 2 guys, Scheffler and the 6,300 guy.
All right, Len, Reed, thank you so much. That is a show. I stumbled, I bumbled, but I'm back, everybody. My first solo show back from maternity leave. It went so good. Madden coming up at noon, and then at 4, after the 4 p.m. Madden Sim, we're actually going to have the slate, which is going to be Kaufman and Jeff talking more golf. So make sure you tune in for that. And then the Sweat will be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m.